Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm your host. Let's see. This is your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Moxie. And tonight I have numerous videos for you. They're all Israeli news videos, but a couple of them explain who actually started this barrage of live fire, because it wasn't the Palestinians. It wasn't the people in Gaza who started this. And we'll make that real clear here momentarily. And I'm happy to make that clear because it seems like people are not clear on this. People don't remember the video that I posted a few days ago of police rolling grenades into the mosque, the big mosque there in Jerusalem, where people were peacefully praying on Ramadan. So it's not. They didn't start this. They didn't escalate it. The Israelis been pushing, and the simple truth is that this is just like the indigenous people of the United States, of America. The indigenous people that were here basically got their wells poisoned, their hundreds of year old orchards bulldozed into the ground. Give them poison blankets. This is basically the same thing that's happening to the Palestinian people. A blockade on all their water ports, which is a crime against humanity. A blockade so that they can't get any supplies into their country. It's not really a country, it's a prison. And it's a crime against humanity, and no other country does anything about it. Why? Why is Israel allowed to get away with crimes against humanity, and everybody runs to their side because they're the victims here, right? They're going to destroy Gaza. They are currently bombing the biggest buildings in Gaza. Do you think no one lives in those buildings? Oh, they say several children are going to be killed in this campaign. Yeah, fuck you. And by the way, I keep hearing in this, like I said, the clips tonight are all Israeli news. And one of the things I keep hearing in the Israeli news is that, what a toll this takes on the children. Not necessarily them getting blown to pieces like the children in Iraq or Afghanistan in your name with your tax dollars. Not necessarily like those children, but a psychological toll that it takes on the children of Israel. And all I can think is, what kind of shitty fucking piece of garbage parent would put their children into harm's way, knowing that any minute they could have rockets fall down out of the sky on them, or whatever else, terrorists everywhere. You see how they're conditioned. They're, we got to run for shelters. There's shelters everywhere, right? Oh, we got to run for shelter. Why on earth would you move your children to a place like that, or keep them in a place like that? Your parental fucking priority should be to get them as far away from harm's way as possible. We got to get you out of here. You're the future of our family. No, you fucking Israelis put your children right in the middle of harm's way. Purposely, you do this, and you keep just pushing them more into harm's way. What kind of fucked up parents would do that? I'd really like to know. Because as far as I can tell, you are really fucked up parents. So that's just my opinion, of course. So I have lots of videos, like I said. I have videos explaining that it's not the Palestinians' fault for what's happening. They did not instigate this, okay? Clearly is spoken here, is explained to you in no uncertain terms. I will play that for you momentarily. First, I thought that we would talk about about the Democrats and the Republicans in this country and how they can't wait to run and support Israel's side. We stand with Israel. They have every right to defend themselves. Again, the Palestinians don't have a right to defend themselves. Is that correct? Because this is what's happening. They're getting their wells poisoned. They're getting their land taken away, stolen. They're getting their hundreds-year-old orchards fucking bulldozed into the ground. Orchards that feed entire communities, right? They're getting their babies blown into a million pieces. That's not happening to Israel. That's not happening. Their babies, hundreds of them, aren't getting blown into millions of pieces. And again, those people are the ones who put their children into harm's way, almost like a shield, almost like, oh, well, there has to be some sacrificial lambs when we're going to war. There has to be some sacrifices made. If it's one of my children, that's just God's will. Is that right, you fucked up piece of shit parent? Because that's not what God's will is. That's you putting them into harm's way. And then I got to hear about the psychological damage that's being done to Israeli children by their piece of shit parents. Okay? Figure it out. Because no one's keeping people in Israel. But you know what? No one can leave Gaza. No one in, no one out. It's a fucking prison. Crimes against humanity prison. Okay? If you don't know that, it's only because you don't care. That's what's completely fucking obvious. So, let's see what the Democrats and Republicans think. Shall we? I'm going to have a bong hit because I haven't had one yet. So if you'd like to join me, now's your chance. I'll get my bong heated up and we'll do it. We'll do it until the sun don't shine.
Again, that news just in, the Islamic Jihad vowing to target Tel Aviv at the top of this hour. We will be discussing this with our panelists, but right now, for the latest reaction from the United States to the current developments, we cross to our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim. He joins us from New York. And Mike, developments in the region tend to garner reaction in the international arena. What is the latest we're hearing from Congress and from the State Department?
Yeah, everybody has opinions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's always been that way, it seems. This has really gone in two stages, Benita. Pre-Hamas rockets raining down on Jerusalem and elsewhere in Israel, and post-Hamas rockets raining down in Jerusalem and elsewhere around Israel. And beforehand, we saw largely Democrats from Congress commenting, especially online, on Twitter, on Facebook, about what was happening with the evictions and proposed evictions of Arab families in the eastern part of Jerusalem, about the presence of Israeli forces on the Temple Mount in Al-Aqsa Mosque. Those were largely coming from Democrats, while Republicans were mostly silent. Now we've seen a turnaround where Democrats, for the most part, have gone silent about what's happening. Republicans now stepping forward and standing up for Israel, at least online. Two prominent members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee tweeting today. One, Tom Cotton of Arkansas, tweeting that Hamas's acts of terror against Israel are despicable. The U.S. must stand with our ally Israel and support its right to defend itself. Also, Marco Rubio from Florida, another member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said if Israel or any other country was seeing rockets rain down on their cities, what response would be expected? He also tied Hamas to Iran. Of course, the U.S. right now negotiating with Iran on the nuclear accord in Vienna. Meanwhile, State Department spokesman Ned Price has not yet taken to the podium today. His press conference is about 15 minutes away. He was asked yesterday about, obviously, a number of topics related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and this latest flare-up. He was asked specifically whether the Biden administration withdrawing and de-emphasizing and deprioritizing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict may have in some way contributed to the recent flare-up, or at least may give them a possible second thought as to their priorities in the region. Here was the response of State Department spokesman Ned Price yesterday.
Thank you so much. Our senior U.S. correspondent. Let's take a listen.
I think right now, as we've just been talking, our priority is on de-escalation. Our priority is on restoring calm. Our priority over the longer term may move towards playing some sort of mediating role between Israelis and Palestinians. But given circumstances on the ground right now, and even before this current flare-up, we're just not in a position, I think, to see meaningful progress, and our policy has recognized that.
Ned Price there, and thank you so much, Senior U.S. Correspondent Mike Wagenheim, updating us there live from New York.
And why can't we all get a bong, Jackie Cat? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all get a bong? That's a great idea, Jackie Cat. It would be a wonderful, wonderful place if we could all get a bong, don't you think? What a planet that would be. How about those Litecoins, huh, Jackie Cat? Huh? I know you're loving it. I know you are. Look it. Oh, it's going straight back to 400, Jackie Cat. Right where it belongs. It's going to stay there this time. Okay, let's see. Almost ready. Donor, keep forgetting. Almost ready. Okay, that's clip 1. I have 13 clips to play for you people, and this is a call-in show, so if you want to talk to me, you best get on it, because I am planning to run through these clips as quickly as possible if you're not going to talk to me. Ready for a bong hit? I am. I'm feeling much better now. All right, so again, I have a bunch of videos. I have so many that I'm just going to run through them quickly if we're not getting phone calls. So there's the number on the screen in case you can't see it. It's 805-669-6397. We'd love to have you call 805 Mox News, because this is a call-in show, and we do it because we like to start a conversation. You know, if you think the Palestinians are at fault somehow, I'd love to talk with you about it. If you understand the Israelis are putting their children into harm's way, what kind of shitty parent would do that? I'd love to talk to you too. That being said, magic. Hello, caller.
Hola.
Sup, G?
Hey. Another day on planet Earth, baby. God bless the heroic dead and all the crazy people and all the sane people especially. Well, I don't know. Which one would you bless more, the crazy people or the sane people?
I don't like to break them down. I just bless the people.
Yeah, well, there's enough to go around. So, yeah, this whole thing with Palestine, you'll notice every time Netanyahu needs to get his ratings up, or
Right.
needs to get elected, or needs
Right.
to fortify power within his party, which is all screwed up right now.
Yeah.
What do? They bomb Gaza. And this time they had a little pre-war land grab going on in Sheikh Jarrah and other places. And now let's hope it just kind of fizzles out. But everything that comes out of any American spokesman is just bullshit. It's like, well, we're thinking about doing something, but we have to wait for the bombs to stop before we can actually think about doing something. And we're getting ready to say something, but the stuff on the ground is preventing us, and we're just going to keep watching from here because we're America. You know, it's like, in other words, we're not going to do shit.
Why isn't any other country, whichever one in the world, like speaking out against crimes against humanity and demanding that the blockade be lifted or going to fucking break the blockade? Why are they not doing that?
Well, in the old days, believe it or not, it was the leader of Saudi Arabia who threatened to cut off oil to the United States in the 1967 war. But Saudi Arabia has totally flipped the script now and is aligned with Israel, and they got what's his name? Not Bin Laden, but the crazy young ruler of Saudi Arabia now that chopped up Jamal Khashoggi. He's aligned with Israel. So the leader of the Ummah, the religion, right, is believe it or not, Erdogan. He's the number one guy that's always says something every time Gaza gets bombed. It's Erdogan.
Yeah.
And that's cool with me. You know?
I hate that motherfucker, but I mean, it's good that someone speaks up. But I that guy is disgusting too.
Yeah, if a Middle East scholar could watch over the decades as the Zionist program kind of divided and conquered and coerced the whole Arabic contingent, all the countries, and now they're all divided, and it's pretty much half of the Arabic countries give Israel a pass if they're not aligned with them, and two of them at least are aligned with Israel. So there'll be the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. So here we are. Hopefully the carnage will stop, but I'm seeing videos of young Zionists in Israel pelting Palestinian drivers with rocks, big fucking rocks, breaking windows, and it's the situation on the street in Israel is not good, and apparently there's two sides that kind of hate each other, and I'm in favor of the Palestinians, because I see the history involved in the Zionist takeover of what should, back in 1948 or 47 actually, this whole partition plan was talked about in the United Nations for 7 months straight before they had a vote. And what was called at that time the Zionist entity, promised that they would treat everyone inside of Palestine. They didn't call it Israel, they called it Palestine. That would include the Arabs and the Druze and the Jewish people as equal citizens. That was one of the contingents that the partition plan was based on. That was 1947. And now you see, well, just look at what happened in 1948. The Nakba happened, and they drove 750,000 people out of the Jerusalem area, and where did they end up? They ended up in Gaza. And now that population of 750,000 has, what do we got in Gaza? I think you got 2 million people in Gaza right now, and then you got 2.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank. So they didn't keep their word. They said...
Yeah, of course they didn't.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know that.
Well, let me ask you. Did you see that the Iron Dome malfunctioned today for like 3 or 4 hours?
No, what happened? Tell me about it.
The Iron Dome, which protects Israel from incoming rockets, malfunctioned and did not work for 3 to 4 hours today.
Well, I saw rockets that looked like they were going all over the place, but I assumed that was the Palestinian rockets that have no guidance systems.
The ones that zigzag are the Iron Dome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I have video of that too, but I have people discussing how it malfunctioned, which, you know, if you're looking to look like the victim, that seems very coincidental, right?
Well, you know, I've been studying Iron Dome for at least 5 years, probably 6 years, and every rocket scientist, every expert in the field of intercepting rocket technology says you got 5, maybe 10% interception capacity from Iron Dome itself. While at the same time the Israelis are bragging they got like 80% interception. You can't tell from a flashing light and an explosion up in the sky what's happening.
Well, I have a video where it shows like 20 rockets coming in and it takes out every single one of them, so you know.
Iron Dome takes out 20 rockets.
Yeah.
Did you learn that by the narrator, or did you actually see it take out 20 rockets?
I saw it on the screen take out 20 rockets.
Whoa, at nighttime you can't tell what's going on in the sky, dude.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you what I saw. I saw these things zigzagging back and forth and then take out the rocket. So,
Well, I have no opinion on.
and all I'm talking about, again, you say you studied this thing. So, have you ever heard of it malfunctioning for 3 or 4 hours? Huh?
No.
And that seems awfully convenient. That when, again, they need a reason to go and just bulldoze Gaza into the fucking ocean, right?
Oh, I see. So
You know,
you're saying
if they want to play the victim card, oh, look what's happening to us, right?
Yeah.
The best thing that could have possibly have happened was for their Iron Dome to malfunction and 100 rockets get past it and a couple of them connect.
Yeah, well, I haven't been on top of my game. Otherwise, if I was on a live stream from locals in Palestine, they would be telling me Hamas launched 150 missiles. But I don't know how many missiles they launched. My guess is 50 or above.
But they're not missiles, they're rockets, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Rockets.
Missiles have guided systems, rockets don't.
And missiles have explosives, and Hamas rockets don't. So, you know, you can...
That's another thing. That's another question that I'm having. If, let's say that someone said a rocket landed, would you know the difference between at nighttime? Would you know, or even not at nighttime, would you know the difference between a rocket and a drone strike?
In Israel?
Yeah.
Or
in Israel, if they believe these big old bombs are landing down on them, would you know, in anywhere, because I've wondered about this many times, in Afghanistan, where their car bombs go off, I think, would people that were there know the difference between a car bomb and a drone strike? Because I don't know if the people that are there, you know, would be able to go, yeah, that wasn't a car bomb. Or even
No,
if they
you
did,
would-
we'd never hear about it. Go ahead.
You would definitely need to be a specialist to tell the difference
Yeah.
between a car bomb and a drone strike. So
Right.
if your insinuation is that would Israel blow up an empty car and then blame it on Gaza, for sure they would do that. But have they done that? I don't know.
I'm not necessarily saying would Israel do that. I said clearly, you know, kind of would America do that, because, you know, this is happening in Iraq, in Afghanistan. It happens all over. And America is, you know, the drone king of the world. But Israel is a close second, I'm sure. And
Well, look what happened in Douma in Syria, where they had a fake chemical attack, and
yeah.
and it was just a complete hoax.
Right.
So yeah, if they can fake a chemical attack, they can fake a car bomb, they can fake a missile strike. You know, we got advanced military. Israel has advanced military. They can fake all kinds of stuff, including they could attack themselves and blame it on Syria. And I think they've already done that before. So we don't know what's going on. You would think that Iron Dome would naturally have rockets zooming back and forth, you know, able to hit a moving target. But I don't know what's up with this supposed malfunction.
Yeah, I have the video. I'll play it for you. I have a video of them shooting down rockets and a video about them talking about the malfunction. It lasted like 3 or 4 hours. Again, extremely convenient in my opinion. You know, I mean, this would be exactly what people who want to be the victim would want to happen. You know, and you know how Netanyahu thinks. I mean, if there's gonna be war, we're gonna lose a few players, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's not the happenings in the field that's pushing the politicians. I think the politicians push the buttons to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's benefits to war, political benefits. And I just want to remind everybody, in 2014, in the 50 days of the attack on Gaza, 2,500 people, civilians, were killed. And so let's pray to God, nothing like, we don't get even a tenth of that this time. But I hope it fizzles out. I hope it fizzles out. And you'll notice that
it's not going to fizzle out. I'm sorry, it's not going to fizzle out.
I don't know, man. But you'll notice that
I've been watching the Israeli news all fucking day, and there is no way this is fizzling out until they're done.
Yeah, well, the Israeli population jumps up and down and says, kill them all, and they get all animated.
Fuck them all to death! That's what they said on South Park. Fuck them all to death!
But the court case concerning the real estate, the stealing of Palestinian houses in Sheikh Jarrah was put off because of all this stuff that happened 2 days ago. So that was due to be settled.
That happened way before any rocket attacks. That happened right like the same day that the police went in and threw the grenades into the Alaska Mosque.
That's a lot of stuff happening all together.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, you would say it's suspicious, but I say it's just normal Israeli devilry. You know, it's like, let's fuck these people up as much as we can get away with, and then it'll die down, and then we'll steal the houses next month, you know?
Suspicious isn't a word that I use. I use the word coincidence. I look at coincidence because, everything when it comes to war is suspicious. But coincidence, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in the appearance of coincidence, but not the actual thing. Go ahead.
I've seen some American politicians stepping up and giving lip service to the Palestinian cause. That's good, you know. And your own live stream, you had a Israeli troll in here a couple minutes ago, and you get the two sides.
But it's not necessarily that they're a troll. Maybe they just, are on the other side. They actually believe in Israel. They actually believe Israel is the victim, I mean, the idea isn't that they're a troll. It's just that they're misinformed because, everybody says Israel is the victim here. So what else are they supposed to believe? So not necessarily being a troll. At the same time, if they come here and they're not a troll and they just actually believe in Israel or whatever, then they might hear discussions that might open their eyes because, they didn't realize what was actually happening. They've been misinformed for so long.
Israelis and supporters of Israel don't realize a lot of the details of the history, and that's why I brought up that 1947 promise to treat all the people living within Palestine as equal citizens. But Palestinians don't have citizenship. Druze people only have partial citizenship. And here we are, 75, 77 years later, 78 years later, and they're still fighting. And I want peace. I don't want people getting bombed, and there's not a hell of a lot I can do about it except speak up for peace,
Yeah, again, I don't understand how no country will step up and demand that the blockade of Gaza be ended. I mean, this should be Look at what they say about Myanmar and all these other places, China and the Uyghurs. Oh my God! But nothing about Israel, about Gaza. And I keep wondering if it's because Israel have nukes, but at the same time, China has nukes. So. But at the same time, I wonder about Israel having nuclear submarines and maybe them sitting off the coast of Washington, D.C. or something like that. I don't know.
I saw a Zionist troll just 20 minutes ago before you came on air, calling for the Samson option. And the Samson option is, he said, we people of Israel, we will execute the Samson option and become martyrs for our third temple, which is Alaska. They want to put it where Alaska is. And the Samson option is nuking every capital in Europe. We're talking Germany, Italy, France, England. That's the Samson option. I saw a guy calling for that 20 minutes ago, and I just laughed at him. But there are... it's the most pro-Palestinian government in Europe is actually Ireland, where practically the entire government speaks up for the Palestinian cause. And so that's a good thing. It's not enough, but, people should just educate themselves that this is legalized colonialism, legalized war crimes, legalized slow genocide of the Palestinian people.
Crimes against humanity, yeah.
5 million of them inside their own land. 5 million. Okay,
Prisoners.
I'll let you go, Michael.
You were saying something about... okay, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
Take care, bro.
All right, so again, this is a call-in show. That's our buddy Michael from Southern California. He calls all the time, and it's good to hear from him because he really cares a lot about Gaza, the Palestinians, and again, I don't understand how on earth there can be a blockade of Gaza for, I don't know, 30, 40 years now. I mean, nothing is allowed to go into the harbors, so that people can get food and supplies to rebuild their homes and such. It's really, really messed up. And no country speaks out. I mean, this is a crime against humanity to block people from being able to get the necessities. And, they're basically starving them out, besides, bombing the fuck out of them. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Actually, I'm not all right. Whenever this happens, whenever Israel decides to mow the grass, like that's what they've called it in the past, put down the restless natives and blow up their houses and kill them in the streets, it bothers me. It always does, because they're pretty defenseless. I mean, whatever. Those rockets are basically like exaggerated fireworks. And they're basically launched to make the point that they can launch a firework. They can launch a rocket. They have that's all that they can do, really, in the state that they exist in. They really don't damage or kill that many people, as opposed to like killing 30 people like in a single day with like rockets from airplanes, targeted airstrikes.
Yeah.
Which is actually a fucking war crime, like Mike was just mentioning. Like, you're not, that isn't like normal protocol. Like, if people in Russia were to take airplanes and drop bombs on people in their own country, or any other country in the world, in the United States, if we were to do that, it's just not acceptable. You can't use like military power on people who are either just demonstrating or who are using weapons that are just primitive weapons compared to the arsenal that you have at your disposal. It's a war crime, period.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like equal reaction or whatever. So they're not supposed to bomb every fucking building in Gaza, They're
No.
yeah.
So,
go ahead.
So I go to different sources, Mike. I don't watch TV, but I go to like Electronic Intifada. That's the source that I go to. Electronic Intifada, that's from Palestine, and they write about Palestine. And Mondaweiss is another one, this person who just writes about Palestine. And I looked at photographs of that building that was destroyed. It was a 13-story building with 80 apartments in it, and it looked like it had been built recently. And that's like 80 families don't have a place to live anymore. The whole fucking building is completely destroyed.
And how many
And-
families got killed, right? I mean, you don't just take
and
out
a
a
lot of-
building like that and nobody gets hurt.
And a lot of children were killed. I guess out of those 30 people killed, 10 of those people were children. And already, I also read that they closed the borders from Egypt, and they closed the borders from Israel, and they've restricted their ability to fish, as immediate reaction to this. So these people are literally surrounded. They're in a siege.
And they
Siege
blew up
has been going on.
they blew up a pipeline also.
Yeah, so they're not going to get fuel, and it already was one of the most densely populated places on Earth. It already is, and it already has an incredible amount of poverty and a lot of issues like fucked up infrastructure. Over like every 5 years, when Israel destroys their infrastructure, they have to rebuild their infrastructure, and then they destroy it again, and then they rebuild their infrastructure, and they just keep doing this over and over and over and over again, and then they act like, oh, these people are the same kind of stereotypes. Israelis have the same stereotypes towards Palestinians, that Americans had towards African Americans, in the past, right?
Or
They don't have-
Native
they don't have,
Americans, Native Americans. Yeah.
Or Native Americans, like they're lazy, they're not ambitious,
They're
they don't wanna
they're
work.
animals.
Yeah, the same racist bullshit tropes. But in spite of all of that, these people manage to rebuild their whole fucking community every 5 years, just like a clock, because they have to, because they don't have any other choices. And that's the reason why there are tunnels that go from Egypt into Gaza, is because of they're not allowed to bring basic consumer goods and basic commodities into Palestine, into the Gaza Strip. So they literally have to dig tunnels to bring things like dishwashers and television sets.
Olive
so
oil.
This whole,
I hear you can't
this
even bring
whole-
olive oil in there.
this weird black market that's emerged. So people are super resilient. And the thing with the Israelis is it's just so sad that the people who were victimized end up becoming the victimizer, right? That's always the most fucked up story when you see it actually happening. But if you remember, the Warsaw Ghetto wasn't a cakewalk, right? When the Nazis surrounded Warsaw and it was in a siege, and basically the people fought back, hand-to-hand combat. Jews who lived in those communities fought back, but they were basically completely isolated, and a lot of people hid in the ruins of those buildings for years, living in the same exact conditions that the Palestinians are living in the Gaza Strip, right? So it's just like this big history, the circle just repeating itself, and that is troubling. People don't learn things, in the big picture. Mike was talking about the diaspora of Palestinians, and according to Wikipedia, which is not a neutral source, but they say there's 6 million Palestinians in the global diaspora, 6 million Palestinians, and 1.6 million of those people live in Israel. 3.2 million Palestinians live in Jordan as refugees.
Yeah.
630,000 Syrians, 630,000 Palestinians live in Syria as refugees. 500,000 Palestinians live in Chile as refugees. 400,000 live in Lebanon as refugees. 250,000 Palestinians live as refugees in the United States. So, from what I recall, there's only 9 million Jews or something, or 10 million Jews in the whole world. But there's only 6 million Palestinians, and they had their land taken away from them by these people.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, again, I don't understand why there aren't governments speaking up for these people, because, it's obvious that there's this genocide going on, and it's like, oh, Israel's the victim. Israel has the right to defend itself, and the Palestinians don't. It's horrible. I can't. I mean, I'm really. Go ahead.
It's really a form of racism, Mike. Is what it is. It's European. Europe. They're basically Europeans. Whatever the Jews are from Europe, they are. And Europeans tend to side with other Europeans in these situations. It's like this racist kind of way of looking at the world, just like they looked at the Native Americans, like you pointed out. The way that they look at the Arabs in the Middle East is the same, as inferior people. But the Jews, who were from Europe, right? Well, they're cultured and civilized, and they can, they're more like us. So we tend to be more simpatico with them.
I just don't see.
Racist.
I don't see how, they're more like us. I mean, and this breaks down to, they're more like us because we see certain groups of people as savages or lower beings or animals. That way, yeah, they're just like us, as far as I can tell. But I don't know. I got to take a break, Chris. I'm sorry. It's
I
good.
understand. It's a fucked up subject, Mike, and I appreciate you taking my call.
No, it's good to hear from you, and I look forward to talking to you. I was actually looking forward to hearing from you today because it was such a pretty day, and we went for a walk, and I saw a hummingbird, little tiny one, about 2.5 inches, 3 inches tall, and then when we were walking up to the trails that we take, there was a crow, and it was just going crazy, right? And I'm like, usually the crows are when they're like that, they're chasing something away, right? And I look over to where the crow is just, rah, rah, rah. And I see this thing sitting up in the tree right, across from it. And I'm like, is that a cat? And then I knew it was either a cat or an owl, and then I saw its flat little face, and cats don't have that, and it's looking right at me. And then I was trying to get a better view of it, because there was kind of branches in the way, and I stepped to like 2-3 feet around this tree, and next thing I knew, it was gone. But I was like, at first I was like, how did that cat get way up in that tree like that?
One of the cats here climbs trees. I'm not too happy about it, but it does climb trees. There was a story, Mike, from King 5. There was a bear shot in Lacey on Saturday. It was they found it at a golf course. Somebody found it at a golf course. They freaked out. I mean, the bear is just walking. It's not really doing. It's like the cougar. It's just kind of walking. It's not really doing anything. And but it was a mile away from a subdivision. So they called the police. The police showed up. 4 police officers showed up to deal with one brown bear. No, black bear. It was a black bear. One little black bear. And then they should have called animal control, but in order to pick up the bear, it would have taken 1 hour for somebody to drive, like from the airport down to Lacey, to deal with it, some kind of federal wildlife official. And the police were too impatient to wait for an hour. So they took an automatic rifle out of the back of their car and shot the bear right outside of a housing development.
That's disgusting. And people who call the police on something like that, all I can think is, like, I look forward to talking to you about the hummingbird, the owl, the eagles, and it's like, beautiful. They should feel so incredibly lucky to be somewhere where that kind of nature is going on. Who gets that lucky to get that kind of nature going on? And they're like, oh my God, shoot it!
I know. Like I said, there is a King 5 clip. I don't know if Craig can find it, but if you find it, it's worth playing because it does show the stupidity of people.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, there was a bear. I couldn't believe it. It's like, God damn, where do you think you live, lady? You live in a place where there are bears.
You live in a fucking rainforest, okay?
You should
figure it out.
How to deal with that? How to deal with bears and lions when they're in the wild? They need to be aware of that.
If you don't want to be living in a beautiful, wonderful rainforest, go live somewhere else. Okay? The bears were here way before you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. It's good to hear from you. I'll talk to you soon. I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. Good night, Mike.
All right. I'm going to play the video about the Iron Dome in Israel malfunctioning for 3 or 4 hours today, which was top secret news until they revealed it later, wondering how all these rocket strikes happened. And all I can say is, coincidence. I don't know if you remember the church lady from Saturday Night Live. She used to say, coincidence? Right? And that's what I think in my head when I see stuff like that, because I don't really believe in coincidences. Church lady didn't either. And neither did V for Vendetta, in case you're wondering. But I'm going to play this video about, what did I have here? I wanted something, rockets. Oh, the pipeline video. Okay, so Israel hit a pipeline in Gaza, in the Gaza area, and I have very interesting, it's like giant flames going up. Again, I wonder how many people died in that. But I thought that you guys would want to see it because so far the people I'm talking to who are informed about Gaza and the fucking Iron Dome didn't know that the Iron Dome malfunctioned today for 3 or 4 hours, which it seems like the kind of thing that would be completely unacceptable at a time when they need it most, right? Coincidence? Coincidence? But I'm going to play the one with the... wait a second. Oh, I'm going to play the video where they explain... this is the Israeli news, where they explain how this all started. Okay, so please check this out, especially those who think somehow this is the Palestinians' fault, because that's not the truth. And here's the Israeli news saying that, in case you're wondering.
Running away from these burning, pressing issues.
Now, we're just hearing more sirens sounding in the south, resumed clashes between Palestinian protesters and Israeli security forces in Jerusalem. And throughout the day, we discussed this earlier, Arab protesters in Arab Israeli cities have been fighting with Israeli police, raising Palestinian Hamas flags and calling to liberate Palestine. Joining us now is political commentator Rami Sayegh from the predominantly Arab city of Jaffa, just where we're sitting. We've seen what is happening in Jaffa, and we're also seeing Arab Israeli protesters in Haifa, in Nazareth, Tira, Lud, all over the country. What are they demanding?
First of all, good evening. They are demanding equal rights. That's the minimum. When we're talking about equal rights, it's about civil rights. We're not going to talk about 1948 because this is the main issue. But if you're talking about the reality, we don't have even equal rights. That's what they're demanding. They are part of the Palestinian nation. They are part of the Palestinian people, and they are suffering many years from the, let's say, the discrimination between both nations, and that's why they are protesting. Second of all, it started many days ago in Jerusalem. We shouldn't forget, it's not about Gaza. It started in Jerusalem, in Sheikh Jarrah, then in Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's why it didn't stop, and Israel started to take the camera or take the vision to Gaza, which is wrong, I think.
But when we're seeing the raising of Palestinian flags, I mean, first of all, I guess my question for you is, obviously there are a lot of people out on the streets, but are these protests representative of the wider Arab Israeli public in Israel, or is this a specific collective of people who are taking to the streets?
As I said, we are Palestinians. This is our flag. It doesn't matter if we are citizens of Israel or Jordan or Lebanon or any other nationality. It's not about nationality. It's about identity. The Palestinian flag is representing the Palestinians, whether they are inside the green line or outside the green line. This is a very normal issue. What's unnormal is attacking the Palestinians in Ramle and Jaffa and Lud. And until these minutes, I'm having videos from my friends in Ramle and Lud attacking Palestinians in Ramle and doing lynches, as you hear about it. It's totally crazy. And we condemn everything that concerns attack against someone that only because he's Palestinian or only because he's innocent. It's a very bad attitude.
I'd like to ask you, how does the Arab Israeli public feel about the fact that, Gaza is launching rockets into Israel?
We're not talking about this issue because you're talking about I'm sorry to tell you, we're talking about someone else that's not concerned in this main case, which is.
But it is in fact related because Hamas is launching these rockets. I mean, at least they say in response to the clashes that we're seeing across Israel.
Hamas is launching rockets because 2 days ago the Israeli police attacked the Muslims, the Palestinians inside Al-Aqsa, and that's why they are not the innocent side. The Israeli police. The Israeli police is always using forces against the Palestinians, and even inside the green lights. So you can't talk about Hamas when we're talking about something much bigger than Hamas and much bigger than the rockets that they are sending. We're talking about justice. This is the main issue.
Well, justice is, of course, fair, but when you're hearing, Arab Israeli demonstrators within the state of Israel chanting things like, with spirit and blood, we shall redeem you, O Al-Aqsa, I mean, how are Israeli forces supposed to respond to that?
I said it and I'll say it again. This is the react, because I said it once. You have to respect existence or expect resistance. This is a very simple and uncomplicated issue, but the Israeli state is trying to make it complicated because it doesn't want to end the occupation and want to go on with the occupation and to accuse the Palestinians, whether they are Hamas, whether they're inside the green line. They're keeping the same policy and the same politics, and they're not trying to end the occupation, to end the problem. The main problem is the occupation.
All right. All right, Rami, thank you so much for joining us and giving a sense of the Arab-Israeli perspective here in the state of Israel. I'd like to turn now back to our...
Okay, so, when I see stuff like this, it always takes me back to Rambo, right? Rambo's like, they drew first blood, right? They drew first blood, okay? And that's the facts. You can't expect someone not to respond when you're putting their people in danger, It's it's the natural response, because if people are putting you in danger, if people drew first blood on you, then they're a danger to you. They're a danger to your life. I'm just walking around. I'm trying real hard to live my life, and not hurt anybody. And then somebody draws first blood on me, I'm like, this person must pay. Hello, caller.
Michael, oh Michael, you sexy motherfucker.
What's up, Pete?
How you doing, brother?
I'm having a good day. It's a beautiful day here. I got to get some gardening done. I got to stay on top of my gardening, but I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Well, you got some cultivation. How are the plants doing?
They're seeds right now. They're in paper towels. I put them in paper towels last night. I got to get them in some soil in the next 12 or 15 hours. So, I'll be working tonight.
So you're still germinating, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. Right on, right on.
I got 14 strains picked out, and I'm doing right now, I have about 20 plants germinate, 20 seeds germinating. I'm gonna give, my neighbor just had a baby, so I'm gonna give them a plant for, congratulations, and a couple other people.
That's cool.
Craig's ex,
Right on.
I'm setting Craig's up ex with 3 plants. Well, 2 for her and 1 for her daughter, so.
Wow, nice.
I know.
You're a good friend, bro.
That's right.
That's a good friend right there.
They need
my best bud.
They all need
who's
it.
the drummer in my band. He just fucking all he does. He loves to grow weed. His whole attic. His whole attic is a grow room. His basement has a grow tent. That's like what his biggest hobby. He just grows lots of weed all the time and makes awesome hash.
I want to grow really pretty flowers. It's one of these things that I really would like to do before I die, is just grow really like state fair quality winning flowers. State fair winning quality flowers. That would just be awesome. You know, in Oregon, they judge cannabis flowers. That's like how they judge roses and shit like that. At the state fair, they judge cannabis flowers, which I fucking love. You go, Oregon.
Yeah, there's definitely an art to that for sure. My buddy got pretty good at it. He was dedicated to it for like 2 years, where that was like his art. That's what he worked on. He got real good. I should send you some of the pictures from some of his plants, man. He's fucking incredible. I literally walk into his grow tent in his basement. I just want to live in that fucking thing. It's just beautiful. It's like that song is like you just want to fucking live in there. It's like a little rainforest.
Again, this is one of these things. It's not so much that I'm desperate for really good buds, because, I can go to the store and get good buds. $20, I can get quality bucks. But
you just want to be connected with nature, dude. That's all it is. Right?
I want to grow. This is something from when I've been a kid. I've always been like, one of these days I'm gonna grow weed. It's not so much grow weed again. It's like, I think the plant is incredibly beautiful. I always thought, when I was growing up, man, when I get my own place, I'm gonna have a couple of 6-foot tall cannabis bushes right in the front, right in the living room. Where anybody who comes into the house, they're like, whoa. Not so much whoa, but wow, look how pretty this is. Because that's the way I've always seen it.
Hell yeah, bro. That's the way to live life. You seem like that kind of guy with that beard. Hell yeah. I'm all for it, bro. You do your thing.
Well, I don't know. Those people on January 6th at the Capitol all had a lot of beards, as far as I could tell.
Oh, no. Don't let that judge... You're not going to be shaving your beard anytime soon, I'm sure.
That ain't going to happen.
You're going to grow that just like you're going to grow your fucking seedlings, I'm sure.
It used to be longer, so I don't know what's happening there, but it used to be longer, and it's not because I cut it off. So,
all these cunt people in the chats. First of all, before I say what I'm going to say, I just hate like 80% of you fucking cunts in the chat. Not Jackie. Jackie's great. Everyone else can suck my dick. You're talking about why are there no countries defending the Palestinian people?
Uh-huh.
And the Palestinian people, I think, are some of the most victimized people on the fucking planet. I think I'm a big fan of Noam Chomsky. I read a lot of his books, and it's like one of the biggest humanitarian crises in the fucking world is going on fucking in the West Bank, in fucking Gaza. And it's because the media is largely controlled by, we know. That's why they got a lot of pull, Michael. That's why.
But the media is not.
People.
I mean, not the media, but I mean, talking. All the governments of the world can't be controlled by the same people. I mean, United States maybe, but I'm talking about the governments. How come no government is stepping up to say, these are crimes against humanity, and I mean, I can't believe the blockade has existed for so long on the people. It's like Chris was saying about the tunnels. Like I said, I don't think you can take olive oil into there. They have to smuggle olive oil. These people, drink olive oil. They fucking, it's their heritage, man.
I think the media in the United States and in Europe and in the Middle East is controlled enough by the jihad enough. And that's all they really need. They need the major Western powers to get behind them. I don't know why we support them so much. It's sickening. It's disgusting.
Again, I want to understand why nobody steps up for the Palestinian people. I get what you're saying about the media, but that doesn't brainwash everyone like you're talking about. No,
I think a lot of people do. I'm sure in other parts of the world that they do realize that this is all propaganda bullshit. But we're just the propaganda is especially heavy in our part of the world,
Yeah.
in the West, especially in America. So that's why it seems all we see is anti-Palestinian, propaganda all the time. Israel is never the bad guy, ever.
Israel is always the victim. Poor Israel.
Always.
Israel
Yeah, no
has
matter
to defend itself. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, dude. We live in a high anti-Palestinian, pro-Jewish propaganda state, so we get it worse than maybe anywhere in the world. So that's why. But I'm sure in most other parts of the world they kind of see this for what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And in
I
fact,
don't know.
if you-
Again, you're saying see what I'm saying, but I'm like saying why in those parts of the world isn't any country standing up? Isn't any government going? End the blockade now? Because if there was a government that was shouting, end the blockade now. Not just citizens, but because that's like the real one of the big problems is that if they had those ports open, they could get all the supplies they need, and I guess that's the real problem is that they don't want them to have all the supplies they need. I don't know. It's such a fucked up thing.
I don't think they have anything to gain from it. Like the major powers in the world, like Russia and China, don't have anything to gain really from Israel, or maybe they just given up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think again, I always wonder if it's because Israel has nukes, or they don't want to be the next country to have a 9/11 happen, or Israel has nuclear submarines and they just happen to be off the coast of Washington D.C. I don't know.
I think a lot of the major powers are like, yeah, you guys we'll let the Jews have fucking Palestine. Fuck it, we don't care. They don't. They care much more about the West or the East. I guess it's technically the East, yeah, but they want to expand more on their continent. They don't give a fuck about the Middle East. I don't really think as much. You know what I'm saying? They care more about Ukraine.
I mean, look, I get it. The government, the politicians, they don't really give a fuck about anyone or anything except for themselves. I understand that. Putting yourself on the line to say, hey, this is wrong and our government needs to do the right thing might not be the popular choice, but beyond that, it's probably not in the best interest of their career because, then you become anti-Semitic. You'll be called anti-Semitic right away and shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is.
How's the
You get it, Mike.
Yeah, how's the weather getting there?
Fantastic, Michael. It's wonderful. It's sunny. It's not humid. It's about the best weather you can ask for.
Yeah.
Right about now.
I went out without a hoodie today. I was just like, man, there's no way I'm gonna need that. So, t-shirt.
Right on. Yeah. Hell yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to start smoking weed again. Probably be getting a job finally after about 3 months of unemployment. Finally gonna be getting back on the hamster wheel. So.
You've been collecting unemployment, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and you get the extra $300 a month or whatever?
Yeah, so it's pretty much what I was getting paid when I was working, so.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're going to be able to smoke weed again soon. That would drive me crazy. Not so much not being able to smoke it, but not being able to eat it.
Oh, dude, you don't even know. I am losing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm even more of a drunk than I normally am.
You don't sound like it. I've heard you call many times and you were fucked up, buddy.
I'm about that fucked up right now.
Don't sound like it. Maybe.
I'm keeping it down. I'm trying to hold it together.
Well, you're doing a good job.
Well, 3 months unemployed,
It's nice.
I don't know.
It's nice. I was asking. Other than, imagine if you had weed all that time. That would have been a very nice thing, right? 3 months off.
Dude, I'm going to appreciate weed so much more when I get to finally come back. Oh my God. You don't even know, dude.
I don't know if it's possible for me to appreciate weed more. I don't think it's possible for me to appreciate it more than I already do.
Don't smoke weed for a week.
No. No, thank you.
Dude, imagine having to not do it as much as you love weed.
No,
How hard would that be for you?
It's, you know,
It's 20. I love weed just as much as you, dude. It's like literally torture.
yeah,
It's torture.
no,
The
landlord.
alcohol is getting me through it, but it's not. I gotta give up on this shit.
I would never have alcohol. That drug doesn't work for me. But landlord Mike called like a month ago or 6 weeks ago, and he said, "You know when you run out of weed?" And I was like, "No." No, I don't know. No, I don't know that. Do you? And I asked him, "Do you run out of weed?" He's like, "No." What the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, yeah, you were like, I remember watching your weed video. You had so much butter in your freezer. I was like, oh my god, dude.
I don't know. I make like 3-pound batches of butter, and usually I'll do 2 or 3 of them at one time. So one or consecutively, one after another, and then I only use a 1/4 pound or a little more to make brownies.
I bought a special little decarboxylation oven, like a super controlled little decarb oven to decarb my weed in, because I don't like decarbing it just in my like stove oven.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's not accurate like temperature control, so I got a super accurate temperature controlled decarboxylator. I'm gonna make some bomb ass gummies, and I think I'm gonna buy one of those volcanoes. I think I was telling you about.
Yeah. No, that's a good way. I mean, if you're gonna smoke, that's the best way to do it, or the way I do it, or the way I do it.
My buddy who grows a lot of weed, he's got a volcano, and he I've sucked he'll fill a bag up for me and just give it to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is great. Like those things are fucking awesome. Shout out to Volcano. People don't know what that is.
And it has such a good flavor too, huh?
Yeah, and it doesn't burn the weed like it's
no.
A little bit, but it's a very, very, it's like $500 or whatever it is.
They're expensive devices.
But if you're a pothead, they're reliable. They don't break. My buddy's had his for fucking like 5 years at least, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Those things are awesome. So, because doing just edibles was killing me. My tolerance was getting way too high just doing edibles every day. So
yeah,
you gotta divide it up a little bit. So I think that's going to be my strategy moving forward.
Yeah, it seems like a great strategy. I mean, again, the edibles are incredibly important. You don't want to cut the edibles out of your life. But it's really good to have a puff along with them. That way, like you said, you're not overdoing it on the edibles, because edibles, they'll kick in real nice. And then if you're thinking, oh, I need to eat some more edibles, but instead you have a puff off your vaporizer, you probably go, I'm good.
Yeah, that gives you, exactly. Nice little kick, nice little boost, nice little booster shot.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Right on. I got you. All right, Michael, that's all I got to say.
Pete, it's really good to hear from you. Thanks very much for calling.
No problem. My pleasure. Nice to talk to you. I'll let some of these other fucking cunts call in. You have a nice evening.
You too.
Peace and love. Go Celtics. Praise Allah. Blow your mom. Eat out your dad.
See ya, Pete. That's our buddy Pete from Rhode Island. Again, I have lots of videos, so I'm going to play one now in case, and give you a chance to call, because you want to call, otherwise we're not going to have a chance to have a talk, are we? It looks like maybe Craig has another call. You got another call, Craig? Nope, I guess not. So I'm going to play this video on the Iron Dome malfunction. Or I'm going to play the one on how the Iron Dome works, so you can see it taking out rockets. No, I'm going to play the one where they discuss that the Iron Dome malfunction. It's not really a discussion about that, but they mention it a couple of times. So, and again, I find this I find this incredibly coincidental. Right? That when they need this high-tech, super important device at its most critical time, it malfunctions on them for hours, right? And again, they want to play the victim, so, in order to maybe play the victim properly, they needed their Iron Dome not to work. right? Coincidence? Coincidence? I think not. I'm sure you know what it is that I'm saying. So I'm trying to, I know Craig has another caller, so I'm trying to figure out if he's going to patch it up here or not. No. Okay. I'm going to play the malfunctioning Iron Dome video. It's not very long. I'll be right back. I'm not going anywhere, but I thought this is information that you should know. People in the know should know. Again, we have people who know about what's going on in Palestine, in Gaza, in Israel, and they didn't hear about this today. I've been watching the Israeli news all day. This is another clip from the Israeli news. All the clips tonight are from the Israeli news, in case you're wondering. And again, so it's not being fabricated from me somehow or the Palestinians somehow that the Iron Dome malfunctioned. This is the Israeli news telling it. I think they're manufacturing it, but that's just me.
So now let's take you live to Ashkelon in southern Israel. Our defense correspondent Daniel Tzemach is live on the ground. And Daniel, what is the latest update on that rocket barrage that targeted Ashkelon today? The Iron Dome missile defense system reportedly malfunctioning there for several hours. What can you tell us?
Right. It was a malfunction that proved to be consequential to the point of loss of life. We're talking about a malfunction of the Iron Dome missile defense system. It was an issue that was under military censor and gag order for several hours, but ultimately it does turn out that this malfunction, we don't know exactly what it caused as far as the system operations were concerned, but we can say that 2 rockets landed and struck homes, residential structures in the city of Ashkelon, and caused serious damage both physically to the structures themselves and leading to the death of 2 Israelis and critically injuring another Israeli. So this just goes to show how significant the use and the effectivity of the Iron Dome is for the residents here in southern Israel. We're talking about 480 rockets or so overall since this round began at 6 p.m. local time yesterday. Many of those rockets landed within the Gaza Strip. 200 were intercepted by the Iron Dome. So a very, very difficult day here in Ashkelon, and it's one that we're going to be doing with some special coverage.
Okay, so again, that was the Iron Dome malfunctioning, where they didn't really talk about it. I haven't seen a discussion on it. I don't think they want to put it out there that much. Again, people who know well what's going on in Gaza, in Palestine, in the West Bank, in Israel, they didn't hear about this. So again, it malfunctioned for 3 or 4 hours, which to me is incredibly convenient for people like Netanyahu and Benny Gantz, because then they get to play the victim again. We have to respond. We have to have an overwhelming response to show that this is not acceptable, right? They're bombing the tallest buildings in Gaza. They're bombing the tallest buildings. You know, again, they don't get supplies, and it takes them forever to do this. Well, according to Chris, they're very, very good at doing it, and it looks like that they have to be, you know. That people need shelter, and it's just so sad that this happens again and again. So many people around those big buildings, so many people living in them, lots of kids. And so I'm going to show you the video of the Iron Dome working, so you have some idea what that's like. And again, you can remember that it malfunctioned for 3 or 4 hours today. Very, very conveniently malfunctioned.
As part of this equation tying Gaza and Jerusalem, then they focused their efforts on the areas surrounding Gaza, and then they started expanding to Ashkelon and now to Tel Aviv, and they could go beyond Tel Aviv if they choose to. But I think for them, the culmination is firing at the center of Israel at Tel Aviv.
I'm going to stop you right now because we are looking at images on your screen. They were taken earlier this evening. These are not live images that were taken earlier this evening. It gives you an idea, though, if you're watching, what it looks like when a barrage of rockets heads towards Tel Aviv. And these rockets, for the most part, are being intercepted by the Iron Dome missile defense system. This is what it looks like. If people in Tel Aviv are looking up out of their windows, hopefully they are in shelters. Those who can get a glimpse at what is going on outside would be seeing what looks like lights in the sky. These are the interceptions that we've been talking about.
What we just saw is a very high rate of interception. Almost all of them were intercepted, if I could tell.
And again, reiterating that Hamas has been claiming that it has sent 130 rockets, as we saw on our screens there. As you said, Michael, that is a large interception on our screens. You can also see the number of projectiles that are coming through to Tel Aviv right now. These are live images, and another barrage of rockets making its way towards Tel Aviv. This is breaking news. If you're just joining us now, a barrage of rockets has been sent from the Gaza Strip towards the city of Tel Aviv. We know that 3 people have been injured in the city of Holon near Tel Aviv, including a young girl. We also know that 1 person has been seriously injured, although the exact location of that injury is not clear at this stage. We also are hearing from the Hamas terror group, and it's a claim made by the group, no confirmation on the Israeli side at this point, that 130 rockets have been sent, and this barrage coming just a short while after the Islamic Jihad vowed that at 9 o'clock at the top of the hour, around 22 minutes ago, that Tel Aviv would be targeted. What you're looking on at your screen right now are recorded images from earlier this evening. These are what the projectiles look like, and the interceptions coming from the Iron Dome missile defense system. Retired Brigadier General Michael Herzog. It's very vivid when you're looking at the pictures right now, how many lives are being saved by the Iron Dome. If these projectiles were landing, the situation would be vastly different.
Exactly. And when you look at the screen, it looks like a computer game.
Okay, Superman, so you know, again, I just played a clip a minute ago on the Israeli news, from the Israeli news, about how the person that they're talking to saying that it was Israel that attacked first. Israel drew first blood, okay? So if Israel again, by your logic, if Israel attacks first, then of course Gaza, the Palestinians have the right to attack back. Isn't that what Israel keeps saying? If we're attacked, we'll return fire. That's what you're saying, right? So if it's the Israelis that hit the Palestinians first, right? Then isn't that what you're saying? Doesn't that make sense to you? Okay, so yeah, intelligence. Okay, I'm going to play another video where again, Israeli news, where they explain that it's not the Palestinians' fault. And this guy is a correspondent, apparently, from what I understood. This is a correspondent for the Israeli news. So again, they're pointing out Israel started this.
I'd like to turn now back to our correspondent, Pierre Koch-Lindler, who is still live with us from the Damascus Gate in Jerusalem. These are live images as to what is taking place right now. Like we said before, there has been an uptick in clashes yet again. What is the latest, Pierre?
Well, the police have entered the Haram el-Sharif, which is the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, or the Temple Mount for the Jews. Now, this Haram el-Sharif is the third holiest shrine of Islam, and you've heard your interviewee. The wrath of the Israeli Arabs, but not only of the Israeli Arabs, of the Palestinians in general, is the fact that the police enters as it will into this holy shrine compound, and they've been shocked by the fact that the police threw stun grenades and inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque itself. Now, arguably, Palestinians have been in the previous day, during the heydays of Ramadan, the day of the destiny, which was on Saturday night, have been storing stones to confront the police forces and also possibly to throw them overboard onto the Western Wall esplanade, onto the Western Wall space. And that would have provoked, of course, wounded on the Jewish side, and the police must protect all the citizens of the country, including Palestinians, but also the Jews who pray at the Western Wall. So this is a very sensitive site, and as a result, once again, tonight, after a respite of over 24 hours, there's been again a police action inside the compound, which will fuel the anger of the Palestinians.
Which, Pierre, leads me to my next question. I mean, yesterday we saw the Israeli police commissioner say that Israeli police would exercise less restraint in the coming days. They would, quote, take off their gloves. Are we seeing any differences today in terms of tactics in dealing with protesters?
I would say the opposite, because it was very quiet today. Today, even at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, the Haram al-Sharif, there were no clashes. There were no clashes at Damascus Gate until 10 p.m., until an hour and a half ago. Now, this time, the police is using, I would say, an iron fist policy, because even people that were sitting calmly but chanting offensive chants, such as, with our blood and soul, we will redeem you, Al-Aqsa, the mosque, the third earliest shrine of Islam, the police would enter the arena leading to Damascus Gate and throw and launch at the Palestinians some 5, 6, 7 stun grenades, dispersing the crowd. So I would say this time there was some sort of iron fist policy. Before that, I saw earlier in previous days when Palestinians would brandish a flag, a Palestinian flag, that would be a red flag for the police, but not the chants themselves. And this time it was much more virulent, and I would say the police was much less tolerant to expressions of Palestinian nationalism.
All right, Pierre, thank you for joining us yet again from Jerusalem, from the Damascus Gate, where we are seeing ongoing clashes. I'd like to turn back to our guests and correspondents here in the studio. And Martin, my first question is for you. Will this uptick in clashes at the Al-Aqsa Mosque translate into more rockets overnight?
I don't think so. I think that we've gone way beyond the Al-Aqsa Mosque now. This is a direct confrontation between Israel and Hamas. It's actually a direct confrontation, Israel and Hamas, that's broken all the rules. Hezbollah is watching, Tehran is watching, Syria is watching, Washington's watching, Europe is watching, and so it puts great pressure on all the sides to act decisively. From Israel's side, I think they have to come with a very powerful psychological military blow quickly, because there'll be very strong efforts to restrain Israel because the cost will be high. Right. And on the other side, I think Hamas will probably be looking for a ceasefire very quickly, because they've won already psychologically by what they've done. Now they have to survive it as best as possible. And so they need help from the Arab world to reach some sort of ceasefire.
Well, another community who needs help as we speak are Jewish residents.
All right, it's that time again, boys and girls. If you're ready to have a nice fat puff with Moxie, follow me and do exactly as you see. It's going to be just a sec. So again, did you hear what he said? He said that the Israelis attacked the holy shrine of Islam, right? The Al-Aqsa Mosque, where people were praying. They attacked it during Ramadan, where people were peacefully praying. So it's not the Palestinians that started this. The Israeli police escalated, and then Hamas said, if you don't fucking quit, we're gonna hit back. And that's what they did. And now, which gave Israel the permission to blow them off the map. Hello, caller.
How are you? How are you, Mark?
I am doing good. How are you?
Just fine. Great to hear from you. Was just following all the callers and all the current situation in Palestine. It's just very dreadful, very, very dreadful. I just want to give you my 2 cents, of the situation. What we see right now, it is clearly only the symptoms of the disease. Violence is always the outcome, a symptom of a disease. And it always preserves the power of the oppressor. Violence is always the capacity of the oppressor to inflict pain and suffering upon the oppressed. That's normal human tactic. It has been from centuries and for millennia. That's the way. But this is the 21st century, and this is what it really gets me, is that the Israelis, the Israeli government, still uses the mantra of religion to use it against the Palestinians as if they were subhuman.
Yeah.
There is a historical connotation that many people are going to conflate most of the time here in the United States. And the historical connotation resides from the beginning of the 19th century, a little bit before the 19th century, and the beginning of the 20th century, with the establishment of the Zionist movement in Europe. And the Zionist movement is an ideology that is by itself very racist, extremely racist. The Balfour Declaration that was written by the British to Lord Balfour, so for the establishment of a Jewish land or a Jewish nation, is by itself, this one-page document is one of the most racist documents ever written in the history of humankind, because it in itself negates the existence of the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
It negates and that by itself is like saying, I am a colonizer, I'm coming from England, I'm coming to America, and whoever is living in America, the natives, they will be massacred, dispossessed, and they will be annihilated, because according to my ideology, they are subhuman.
Right. They're
and
savages, they're animals.
Savages.
Yeah.
Correct. And if you look at the history itself, you will find that Jewish, Muslims, and Orthodox Christians lived together peacefully for centuries. Let me give you an anecdote. During the Third Crusade, when the army of Saladin came to be, the army of Saladin was composed of Muslims, Orthodox Christians, and Jews. It was not composed of Muslims only. It was composed of Muslims, Orthodox Christians, not Catholic Christians from Europe, but Orthodox Christians from Armenia, from Syria, from Iraq, from Assyria, from Egypt, from Alexandria. And you will say, how come the Christians are fighting other Christians? Because these are what we call Orthodox Christians. Mm-hmm. And who else was fighting alongside were the Jews from Yemen, the Jews from Iraq, the Jews from Egypt, the Jews from Algeria, the Jews from Morocco. They were together. But don't tell this to a Zionist. Don't tell this to a Zionist, because they will have diarrhea.
I get what you're saying. I mean, there's this weird separation thing that's going on, and it's just going on. It seems to be getting worse and worse, and it's not just Israelis or Jewish people. It's everyone. It's the gays, the LGBTs, the women are getting, everybody's like the victim or whatever, and we have to separate from all these other places. It's this division thing that we talk about again and again and again. And it doesn't really, it's like you're saying, it doesn't really exist. It's been programmed into our brains. We can all make something good happen, but instead they have us all divided and looking at each other like they're the enemy.
Okay. So there is a great book that was written by an Israeli philosopher and scholar. The book's name is The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé. Ilan Pappé was a scholar from Israel, and he decided to dig deep inside the records of the Palestinian homes and families that were expelled during the war of what we call independence. But it really was even before the War of Independence. It was during the Nakba, the catastrophe. So this great Israeli humanist called upon Israeli society to stop lying to themselves. He said, you are lying to yourself. What you did to expel 800,000 Palestinians during the Nakba was a crime against humanity. But let's take a look at the year in which it took place. It took place exactly after the Second World War, right? Why during Second World War is because during Second World War there was what we call the great mass displacement of people. It was something natural that came to be after Second World War. There were 2 million Germans that were displaced from Poland and from the other communities that were Germanized during Second World War, and they were expelled back to Germany. And then were so many million more from China, so many million more in Vietnam. So it was the standard to allow the expulsion of masses. And the Israelis took it for granted because they said nobody is going to care for the Palestinians. You know what? They were mistaken. Palestinians are the most resilient people on earth because Palestine, as Shakespeare mentioned it in his work in Othello, Palestine is the cradle of all civilizations. You tell me any conqueror, and I will tell you they passed through Palestine. Now, Alexander the Great went and he established Alexandria, but he also established Gaza.
I did not know that.
He went through Damascus.
Yeah.
Julius Caesar went through Palestine, but he also went through Damascus.
Caesar or Alexander the Great?
Both of them.
Okay.
Both of them went through. You see, every civilization, Greek, Roman, Persian, Assyrian, Babylonian, even the pharaohs, the Egyptian pharaohs, they went through Palestine. So Palestine is the cradle of history of all civilizations. And this is the reason why the 3 monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are intrinsically associated with Palestine. Not with Israel, but Palestine. You see a record in every historical record. You don't see the word Judea, Samaria, or this or that. You see Palestine. The Greeks said Palestine. The Romans said Palestine. The Babylonians said Palestine. The Assyrians said Palestine. Even the pharaohs, when Palestine was not even Palestine, it was Palestine. So for the Israelis to say Palestine never existed is just a propaganda machine to dehumanize them, to say that they are not people, that they are the colonizers. And that is by itself a crime against humanity, because you are dehumanizing people that have lived there for centuries. Now, let me tell you a story. When Salah ad-Din conquered Jerusalem against the Crusaders, during the first Crusaders, 50% of the population in Jerusalem was Jewish. The other 50% were between Christian and Muslim. But during the Crusaders, the First Crusade, when they came in, they killed everybody. They didn't discern between Muslim, Christian, or Jewish. They killed everybody. They didn't care because they dressed identical. If you see that between Arab Jewish and Arab Muslim and Arab Christian, the way they dress is the same. Don't let people tell you that the way Arab Muslims dress is different than the Arab Christians. That's propaganda from the Zionists.
Yeah.
Arabs dress identical to each other. They have the akal, they have the kafiyya, and they have their own way of dressing up, but it is the same culture. That's why we call Arab Jews. At that time, we didn't call them European Jews. We call them Arab Jews because they were Arabs. By themselves were they Arabs. Arab doesn't have a religion. Arab means that you are people from the desert. That's what it means. People from the desert. Jews were people from the desert. Muslims were people from the desert. Christians were people from the desert. That's what it means. It's the universality of the word Arabic. It's universal. You don't call Arabic numerals for a reason, right? They are Arabic numerals for a reason. You don't call algebra for no reason. It's universal. One thing that the Zionists want to mention to you and every single member of the United States through the propaganda of the mainstream media is to make sure that Israel is the land, the promised land that is established by the Bible. These are the people, what we call the Christian Zionists. This is a cult. These people are nuts. They're crazy.
Well, their beliefs seem pretty messed up, that's for sure.
The religion does not convey a title of property. That's one thing they need to learn. These motherfuckers, they need to learn one thing. Religion does not convey a title of property. Just because you are Jewish doesn't mean that you have the right to go there and expel somebody else from that land. Because they are doing the same like they did to them in Nazi Germany.
Well, they're doing the same thing, yeah, that has been done to the Native Americans. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I said Christopher Columbus, he came and he went and put the cross on the sand and said, "I declare this land in the name of God and in the name of Queen Isabella Católica and King Fernando." And he said, "These lands are ours now." And he said that. Boom.
Yeah.
In the name of religion. And look what happened.
And they called those people savages and animals too.
Remember, they use religion today in order to dehumanize other religions, other peoples, is a crime against humanity. That's why we have the Nuremberg trial. That's why we have, when the Holocaust happened on the basis of dehumanization. You dehumanize a whole people.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a nation. They dehumanize the whole people.
Yeah.
They dehumanize Jewish, Gypsies, Russians, communists, gays, etc. And they kill all of them in concentration camps.
Yeah.
Now you see, you go to Gaza, and Gaza is an open concentration camp.
Right.
You go and you look at the way the Palestinians are living in Jerusalem and in the West Bank, and you see yourself, what the hell is going on? This is a repetition of history.
Yeah.
You come from Europe claiming that, oh, they kill us in Europe. And then you come here and you kill the people that are inherently, owners of the land. This is, as we said, the Palestinians, we are fed up, as they say, we are fed up for paying the price for the atrocities that the Germans committed against the Jews. We are fed up.
But, I don't understand why there's not more governments around the world saying exactly that.
Well, you have to understand that it's, as Ilan Pappes mentioned it in his book, Israel is a settler colonial project. It's a settler colonial project. It's not there to just impose its will. It's there to destroy the Arab unity that was completed, was going to emancipate itself after First World War.
Yeah.
So Lawrence of Arabia, if you have seen the movie, it's a very good dramatization of what is the Arab cause of unity. When Lawrence of Arabia was trying to establish Arabia was not Saudi Arabia. It was Damascus. It was Riyadh, Mecca, Medina, Baghdad, Beirut, Haifa, Jerusalem. And guess what? Cairo, Tripoli. Do you sense having a Europeans was a nightmare.
That's to say the least, yeah.
After First World War and kicking out the Ottomans, which were very brutal, the Ottomans were brutal, and they were Muslims. Does religion have to do with brutality something? No. You can be whatever you want to be and still be brutal.
Right.
The Ottomans were brutal. They were brutal. What they did with the Armenians is not something that you take lightly.
Yeah.
What they did to the Armenians. How come there is so many Armenians in Syria? How come there is so many Armenians in Palestine? How come there is so many Armenians in Lebanon? How come there is so many Armenians in Jordan?
Well, Syria has always been, really accepting of people. I don't want to say people, but people under attack. They when the Christians in the Middle East would come under attack, they would flee to Syria because they knew, refugees, that's the word I was looking for. They've always been very open to refugees. And this is what I kept explaining to people when they were vilifying Syria again and again and again as being this evil people. There's these Christian communities, really old Christian communities in Syria, and basically the United States has fucking destroyed them all.
Well, you want to see the oldest community in Syria? Christianity began in Syria, right, by the way. And they were not called Christians, by the way. They were called Nazarenes. The real Christian, the word Christianity was established in the 3rd century by the Romans. But the real Christian, the Orthodox Christians, they were called Nazarenes because they were from Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
And they were called Nazarenes. Nazarenes. The termination in Arabic, A-N-I, is possessiveness. That means the person that came from a place. It's the last name of Jesus, as they say, Jesus, son of Joseph of Nazareth. The last name for Jesus is of Nazareth. And this is the way we establish last names during those days. And then after they ran out of places, they had to differentiate them by their function. What is the trade? And they said, Jesus, son of Joseph, the carpenter of Nazareth. Ah, I see. It's Jesus, son of Joseph, the carpenter. And then you have goldsmith, or silversmith, and then you have this and that associated with the last name. But the real beginning of Christianity didn't begin with Christianity as per se, as a name. It began with the word Nazarene. And you can corroborate that in one of the oldest movies that was written, produced here in Hollywood, called Barabbas. So if you watch with Anthony Quinn, the movie Barabbas, in the whole movie, nobody mentions the word Christian. Why? Because Christian was not a word established until the 3rd century by the Romans. They were called Nazarenes.
Right. Gotcha.
Nazarene. And now look at this. This is the thing that bothers me from the Zionists. The Zionist movement begins in Europe, and it begins to tell every single Arab Jew to move to Israel. Tell, oh yes, move to Israel because you're going to be hated. You're going to be hated and they're going to oppress you. They are the most difficult people to deal with in terms of propaganda. They are liars.
Yeah, I gotta take a break. I'm sorry. It's really good to hear from you, and thanks for all the information, the history there. I know a lot of people weren't aware of that, including myself. So I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay, talk to you soon. I hope. Okay, I have a video here on a play about the pipeline explosion that I was talking about it earlier. In the Gaza side, it's right behind Gaza. They exploded a pipeline. Again, these are essentials for people to survive. This is another crime against humanity, another war crime. These things are highly targeted. It's not an accident that the pipeline was hit and exploded. And it's a very powerful video. I thought you might want to see it.
Our breaking news coverage continues, and red alert sirens sounding in the last few moments along border communities along the Israel-Gaza border. This has been a recurrent occurrence for residents in these communities throughout the day. Hundreds of rockets sent from Gaza into Israeli territory in the past 24 hours. 2 Israelis have been killed in the southern city of Ashkelon. In response, Israel launching a retaliatory mission called Operation Guardian of the Walls. Residents of Ashkelon racing for cover throughout the day as those sirens warn of incoming rocket fire. Now, correspondent Batya Leventhal was there earlier in the day and filed this report.
We're standing here in the apartment directly below another apartment that was impacted this morning in Ashkelon. And even so, you can see the damage around the apartment. Shattered glass all over the floor. Things seem extremely unorderly. The window panes coming out and lying on the couch. In this apartment were 3 people this morning, one of which happened to be handicapped. All 3 were not able to get out of the apartment in time and get downstairs to the bomb shelter. This current apartment, because of how old the building is, does not have one of those shelters built into the actual apartment, but rather downstairs. And if you have a look here, the 2 bedrooms, this one right here where the 28-year-old daughter was actually in the room, and you can see just how bad the impact was. She managed to get herself outside and into the kitchen, the safest place in this house. But you can just see how badly the room is really impacted. Again, glass shards everywhere, the window panes coming out, and the actual entire window pane sitting on the very bed. Really terrible damage. And this is just the apartment below the apartment that was directly hit. And if you have a look at the bedroom just next door where one of the parents were sleeping, you can see the damage there as well. When the sirens went off, they managed to get out of bed and run into the corridor where I was walking just a few minutes ago, not even having time to make it into the kitchen, let alone downstairs to that bomb shelter. The the father in the wheelchair in the room across the hall, thankfully, was not harmed, but the door pane did actually come out. But his room is less impacted the way that these were, directly from the front of the house, which is where that rocket impacted. Terrible images coming out of this apartment. It's one of two buildings that were actually hit by rockets this morning coming out of Gaza. Reporting from the city of Ashkelon, Batya Leventhal for I24 News.
Now for the latest, let's go live to Jerusalem. We cross to our correspondent Pierre Kloschendler at Damascus Gate in the Old City. And Pierre, rocket fire sent towards Jerusalem on Monday. Clashes, of course, erupting on the scene there in recent days in the lead up to this escalation. What is happening there right now?
Well, there's been an eerie quiet since yesterday evening, even on the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, which was the siege of violent clashes yesterday in which over 330 Palestinians were wounded and dozens of police were also wounded. Today, it's very quiet. Behind me, you have a regrouping of police officers that are doing a security assessment of the situation right now, and they're far from Damascus Gate, relatively far, because we're about 200 meters away from the Damascus Gate, which has been the epicenter, the flashpoint of the previous nights when there were skirmishes. And today there is a sense amongst the Palestinians to whom I talked, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of closure, because the issue of Jerusalem, the issue of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
All right, so that was the video with the exploded pipeline, right? I'm pretty sure that was the video with the exploded pipeline. Again, this is a crime against humanity. Not only is, this a necessity for them, they have started this big, huge fire, which is going to be incredibly difficult to put out. And then it's a chemical spill all around there, right? I mean, this stuff that they're, fuel is toxic. Right? So it's this giant chemical spill on top of everything else, incredibly difficult to put out, and then it's incredibly difficult to repair, especially if you're not allowed supplies ever. So this is another crime against humanity, and they're adding up and adding up and adding up, and it's mind-blowing to me that Israel wants to play the victim. They're the ones who drew first blood and then escalated. It's not unbelievable. It's something we see happen again and again and again, which is why the title of this video is why are there no countries defending the Palestinian people? Because it's like a genocide going on in front of everybody's eyes. And no government around the world do I see standing up to say, this needs to stop immediately or there will be consequences. And I don't mean like some kind of a fine from the UN. We need to put people in The Hague because they're committing crimes against humanity. And wouldn't we all love to see Benjamin Netanyahu in the Hague? I would I would be so happy to see Benjamin. It would be like victory, like that day that one of these days we're gonna get to where we need to be. It's like that would be this huge day, just like a weight lifted off the world, off the entire world. Benjamin Netanyahu to the International Criminal Court, to The Hague. Let's see it. Let's see it tomorrow. And let's see some governments begin to demand it, because that's what should be going on. Okay, I'm going to play more videos because no one's calling. This is a call-in show. The number is 805-669-6397. I will be happy to talk to you. I wish Brandon was going to call tonight. I really hoped that Brandon was going to call because he's done a lot of time in theater. And I wanted to ask him, about this question that I asked earlier about, would people know the difference if a rocket came in or being hit by a drone strike? Or if it was a car bomb or being hit with the drone strike. I wonder these things when you see them and the people, and they're made such a big deal out of. It seems like to me it's incredibly convenient. You see all the violence going on in Afghanistan now and how much they're like highlighting it. This is because we can't leave Afghanistan. Look what's going on there. We can never leave Afghanistan. Why? Because Dick Cheney makes way too much money off Afghanistan and a whole lot of other people. That's why. And of course, it's the Empire Killer. Afghanistan's nickname is the Empire Killer. And we haven't been killed yet, so why not wait until we get killed completely? Even though we can't win an endless war after 20 years fighting against people living in mud huts and caves. That's what we were told they were. And the Pentagon can't defeat them because absolutely every single person in the upper echelons of the Pentagon is a worthless piece of shit. In case anybody's wondering. Alright, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play more videos. I have a bunch of videos now about rockets coming in to be, you know, oh my God, we're all going to die. It's like the plague all over again. Rockets coming in. I have numerous videos of that. We'll do that. We'll start on them now. If you want to call, the number's right there on the screen, 805-669-6397, 805-MOX News. And these are the last 3 videos that I have, so you might want to call soon. Let's see, where to start. Tel Aviv or Jerusalem? Let's start in Jerusalem, because I believe that's where the bus was hit. This is one of the things I'm talking about the drone strike, or an actual rocket, if it would be, how hard it would be to tell the difference. If people could tell the difference. I'd like to know if they could tell the difference between a drone strike and a car bomb. Again, this is very convenient for what's going on in Afghanistan after Joe Biden announces that we're going to leave on September 11th. Of course, the date has no significance. It's not going to bring a tear to your eye or pull your heartstrings, right? Let's see. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Can I talk to the Mox News guy?
That's me.
But you're live right now.
That's correct.
How are you live? You're saying other words.
The what? I have no idea what he said. I didn't understand it. I am live. We are live. You are talking to the Mox News dude. What is the deal, people? Come on. Which one did I say I was going to play? Jerusalem. I believe Jerusalem is where they showed the burned out bus, and I figured that we should start there. Again, because people talk about these rockets that are coming in from Gaza, right? And this explosion that we see, and the people that we talk with here, they say, that these rockets really aren't very explosive, right? And you can see when they shoot them down out of the sky, the video we played earlier, they don't seem to make big explosions. At the same time, if you look at this scene, I believe it's Jerusalem. We may have to look for a different spot, a different bombing, a different attack, a different rocket incoming, a different red alert zone. We'll look at the Jerusalem one. I think that's where the bus was, the burnt out bus is. If not, we'll go to one of the other red alerts, because I have a few of them to look at. So the number's there on the screen. If you'd like to discuss, I would love to talk with you about drone strikes, about who started this war, who drew first blood, or we could talk marijuana. Whatever you guys feel like. I am down for that. But I'm going to play these videos, and if I get done with them and we don't have any callers, I have farming to do. So, Jerusalem, rocket strikes, number 10. Here we go.
our breaking news coverage continues, and red alert sirens sounding in the last few moments along border communities along the Israel-Gaza border. This has been a recurrent occurrence for residents in these communities throughout the day. Hundreds of rockets sent from Gaza into Israeli territory in the past 24 hours. 2 Israelis have been killed in the southern city of Ashkelon. In response, Israel launching a retaliatory mission called Operation Guardian of the Walls. Residents of Ashkelon racing for cover throughout the day as those sirens warn of incoming rocket fire. Now, correspondent Batya Leventhal was there earlier in the day and filed this report.
We're standing here in the apartment directly below another apartment that was impacted this morning in Ashkelon. And even so, you can see the damage around the apartment. Shattered glass all over the floor. Things seem extremely unorderly. The window panes coming out and lying on the couch. In this apartment were 3 people this morning, one of which happened to be handicapped. All 3.
Oh, and look, little kids live here. Why won't anyone think of the children? Again, they're killing lots and lots of children in Gaza right now. But besides that, I asked at the beginning of the show, what kind of parent would put their children into harm's way? Okay, if we all know that we're going to have to run for shelter at the bomb shelter because incoming bombs could come at any moment, right? If we all know that, if we practice it, if we've done this and we understand that this is a good possibility of happening, why on earth would you take your children there? Why on earth wouldn't you fucking, as quickly as you could, rush to get your children out of harm's way? What kind of piece of shit parent does that? Keeps their children in what we're being told is a war zone. They keep their children there purposefully. Why? Why? Tell me. It's not like they can't afford to move wherever they want. So why are they doing this to the children? They talk about how traumatized the children are from this, right? So why do you keep your poor children in a place you know they're going to be traumatized? It's not the Palestinians' fault. It's the shitty parents that would keep their children in a war zone. How could you possibly do that to your kids? Okay, I think I picked the wrong video there, so we'll try another one that has incoming rockets because I came prepared. The telephone number's up there on the screen, 805-669-6397, 805 Mox News. Love to talk to you.
Our Middle East correspondent Emily Rose, who is actually live from Ashdod right now. It's an Israeli city that is about 20 miles north of the Gaza Strip that has seen a barrage of rocket fire over the course of the last 24 hours. And I think we're now hearing alerts of another siren going off in the area. So, Emily, you know, we've been seeing these videos of buildings hit by rockets. Give us a sense of what is happening on the ground right now.
Well, as you mentioned, there could be rocket sirens that are sounding off. The ones that you're hearing maybe close to here. We're not hearing them just yet here, but we'll stay alert here on the ground for you if that does happen. We've been by a shelter and we've been with residents who have been running back and forth to the shelter basically for the past few hours. It's been absolute chaos. So we're standing right now in front of a house that was actually hit earlier today. It suffered a direct hit, and we spoke to some neighbors. One of them even told us that his wife was in the home. He wasn't, but he ran to the house when he knew that she was inside. She had run to a shelter, and then he took her to the hospital very quickly. She's being treated for her injuries. And all throughout the course of the day, we saw emergency vehicles come to the area around here to try to help clear the remnants of the houses that were hit here just behind me. People even taking items out of the refrigerators to try to bring them to other houses, put them at the neighbors' houses, and to try to help these people clear some items, leftover items from their houses. And of course, it was quite a shock to see for these residents when they looked at the destruction that remained in the wake of their homes.
I'd like you to just kind of paint the larger picture here, you know, of how common rocket barrages like this at Ashdod actually are. I mean, how prepared are citizens who are there on the ground?
Well, when we walked around today and we spoke to people, they certainly didn't see this coming last night. There's even a park nearby, and we heard a mother who said that last night the shelter, she had to remind the police to open the public shelter in the park. She actually told them to do that, and they did so. So it seems as though they weren't exactly ready for it last night, but they got ready real quick, because as I walked through the neighborhood today, I could see people had opened the doors to the lower levels of the apartment buildings so that people could run into the shelters. They opened up the shelters inside on the ground floor. So it seems as though people are preparing for a pretty tense night, a pretty busy night, and maybe even a very scary night, and that they believe that the rocket fire will reach here relatively, fairly often, as we've seen over the course of this afternoon.
Now, I'm assuming that many of those who are watching us from abroad don't necessarily know, what Israelis are taught to do when you do hear these sirens go off. Can you give us an idea of what that process is like once the sirens go off?
It's very, very important, in fact, and I'm glad that you asked, I'm glad that you mentioned it. It's very important that when you hear the siren, you run for the shelter. Now, here they have about 30 seconds to get inside that shelter. A lot of people think that they can come out right away as soon as the air raid siren is done, and that's simply not the case. The reason is because there are after effects, aftershocks, even when the Iron Dome does intercept that rocket. So it's very important that civilians remain inside the shelter for at least 10 minutes after they've heard the air raid sirens, to make sure that they're completely safe. That will protect them from all of those shards that come as an after effect of that interception. Then they can safely, of course, come outside. And if they hear another siren, then, of course, run back into the shelter. And today, even, it's important to stay connected to what the Homefront Command is giving, the directives that it's giving. It's told people here to remain vigilant, even to remain in shelters over the course of this afternoon. So they should always stay updated with what's happening. That's always being updated on the official channels, and if they want to know, they can always go online and look that up. But very important to maintain that protocol. The videos that you see running online of people standing out and filming the barrages or filming the after effects of them, that is something that's exactly what the Israeli military and the emergency people that you see working day and night behind me don't want you to do. They want you to stay inside that shelter, stay safe, make sure that you're okay, so they don't have to be dealing with a much larger emergency than what they anticipated.
All right, Emily, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with you soon.
Okay, so we still have no callers, and that's very interesting information about Jerusalem District Court, where Netanyahu's corruption trial was taking place, was evacuated on Monday afternoon due to security concerns amid ongoing riots and around the nearby city. So, again, coincidence? Netanyahu's trial, the courthouse where it's taking place has to be evacuated. How fucking convenient, right? Netanyahu's corruption trial, because Netanyahu is a criminal in so many fucking ways. How he has eluded prison thus far is like magic or something. I don't know. He's a wizard. He's doing the dark magic. So, Jackie Cat, look at that. You are so on it, girl. All right, so I'm going to play another video because no one's calling. And I'd love to have a discussion with anyone that would like to have a discussion with me. I'm very friendly. Easy to talk to, I'm told. So, the number is 805-669-6397. All right, and that's 805 Mox News. I'm going to play more videos because I can. I have a video of Netanyahu's speech. It's not too long, but I'm not sure that you want to hear it. I know I don't. So I'll play the rocket video. Let's see, we've got the Netanyahu speech. Oh, first I should play the white privilege card, because you all know how much I enjoy playing the white privilege card. So just give me a sec here, and I'll play the white privilege card, and then we'll do the video. But first we have to play the white privilege card.
That that Trump won the election. Among the suspect's possessions, this is real, a white privilege card. I want you to take a look at this. It's a fake white privilege credit card. Subtitle, Trump's everything. The card holder, scot-free, with 2 T's. Scot-free is actually spelled with 1 T, but, you know, 2 T's on that card. That one piece of evidence, an insight into the man's state of mind, that he could get away with anything because of his skin color. His lawyer saying this to CNN. This was a guy simply following the advice and...
What a moron. All right, so still waiting for a phone call. If anybody wants to call, the number's right there on the screen. And your time is running short because I other than the Netanyahu speech and the bright side, I only have one video left. And I doubt I'm going to play the Netanyahu speech just because he doesn't deserve your time or my time. You know, so I'm just going to skip it. But I did have it prepared just in case. But I'm going to go ahead and play the Rockets one more time. It's not the same video. It's a different video. I really should play the video about the Iron Dome malfunctioning because it's really, really important information. But let's play another Rocket video, and then we'll see where we go from there. Hopefully to a phone caller. 805-669-6397. 805 Mox News.
And we're seeing footage of smoke. They're building out of buildings in the Tel Aviv area, and I believe that people in the Tel Aviv area maybe were a little lax. And we're hearing, of course, of a direct hit on a bus in the city of Cologne, 3 people injured, and of course a fatality. We're getting reports of 1 fatality in Rishon LeZion, which would bring a total of 3 Israelis killed since the start of this latest upsurge of violence. Michal, Peter discussed the actual battlefield that the Israel Defense Forces is now engaged in planning. There's another battlefield that Israel engaged in, and that is the diplomatic battlefield, including the public diplomacy, getting Israel's message. Now, after what happened this evening, Israel is going to have to respond hard. It's likely there's going to be civilian casualties in Gaza. So how is Israel going to have to make its case sufficiently to the world that it needs to respond to these events this evening?
So, Kalev, that is actually one of the most important questions that we have to address, and we have to know that when you look at the media and the reporting up until now, including, and I read out to you just before, a UN condemnation of the State of Israel for what happened in the last 24 hours without complete failure to mention the 400 rockets that are addressed to the State of Israel. It is imperative that democracies understand that this is about terror, and this is about terrorist organizations that are dictating a reality that if they are enabled to dictate, and if they are empowered to do so in the State of Israel, this is about all democracies having to combat terror and the regimes sponsoring them. And you know, we look at global events through a looking glass, but international law has been actually weaponized in a way, and its institutions have been weaponized in a way that all democracies must actually rise to the challenge and speak up against this kind of activity, terror activity, a genocidal organization. And we heard from Daniel the thousands of Israelis that actually would be dead if it wasn't for the Iron Dome intercepting. So we had 2 fatalities today in Ashkelon, and another report of another fatality, and many, many injured, tens. And of course, I haven't spoken about the emotional injury that's caused and the trauma that's caused to the citizens of the South, and in general, the citizens of the State of Israel.
All right, so I am all out of videos. Well, I have one video left, and since there's no callers yet, I'm going to go ahead and play that one. And I don't think that video, the last one, had the burnout bus either. I'll try and find it, although I'm sure there'll be lots more in the morning. Anytime now. I think it's we're getting close to morning in Israel, so... I'll make sure to check that video right away, and if there's anything that is time sensitive, I will be sure to post it before I go to sleep. So I'm going to play the bright side, and I'll be back in just a sec.
Sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes the weight of the world can be too much to bear. Sometimes you need to stop worrying and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need cannabis. Introducing Brightside, high-quality cannabis delivered right to your door. Brightside offers an extensive menu of strains and products to meet your needs. Choose the experience you want, and we'll send you the dankest herb, the real sticky icky, some top-shelf marijuana. If you like what we send you, keep the whole jar. We'll even include some nugs for you to blaze. As part of Discovery, you'll get to try new strains and products. Side effects may include euphoria, increased appetite, uncontrollable giggles, elevated sensitivity to musical dopeness, and reduced anxiety. Tetrahydrocannabinol may also induce feelings of existential well-being and relentless optimism. With a Brightside subscription, you can get it once a month, once a week, or whenever you want, all at a price you'll like. And yes, this is a real company.
Do you know who I am? You're the wizard.
Ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. It probably is. Keep it Brightside.
There's my beautiful baby. Okay, people. I'm all out of videos, except for the Netanyahu speech. I don't really want to play that one. But I can't not play the the Brightside video. I just love that video. And I keep thinking that I hope, the people in Gaza have a little bit of cannabis to help them through, because it goes a long ways to helping you through. All right. Thanks very much to my Boo Bear. Thanks very much to Craig for helping out. Thanks very much to all the viewers. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back tomorrow, same Mox time, same Mox channel. And until then, stay cool, because one of these days, this war is going to end. Stay cool till then.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits.